Welcome to A Girl's Guide to, the podcast designed to help generations of women enhance their minds, love their bodies, and heal their souls. I'm your host, Michaela, a girl navigating life and helping you do the same. I am so happy and grateful that you are here. Let's dive in. Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of A Girl's Guide to, and happy frickin' Friday. As usual, I hope that you had a fantastic weekend. I have a hair in my mouth. Hold on a minute. But yes, I hope you had a fantastic week, not weekend. And I hope you have some fun plans for the weekend. I can't believe that by the time you're listening to this, we have less than a week left in January. Craziness. Time is moving and grooving as it always does. And I know that many of you, myself included, have a lot of goals for this new year, and many people seem to be excited to hop on the personal development bandwagon and really improve their lives this year. And I'm so excited. I'm all for it. I'm always rooting for you. But I did want to have a conversation today about what it means to do the work, because I think that phrase gets thrown around a lot, and I've definitely said it myself. You got to do the work. You got to work on yourself. You got to do the personal development. And coming from somebody who's done that and who is in a much different mental space than I was last year, it's easy for me to say that because I know what that means. But to you, someone who may just be newly navigating personal development, it's a very vague phrase, and there are so many different ways that you can get into personal development, but I wanted to explain what it means to me to really do the work and what that has looked like for me in the past, and how you can also implement these things in your life moving forward this new year so that you can elevate and transform into this higher version of yourself. So, without further ado, let's get into this episode, baby. Okay. So, when you hear personal development, when people say do the work, a lot of times you're hearing reading and listening to podcasts, meditating, journaling, working out. I feel like those five things are the main resources used in a personal development journey. They're definitely the main resources that I have used, especially reading and podcasts. I've tapped into both of those more last year than ever in my life and continue to do so this year. But I think that many of us, myself included, in the past, get caught up in those resources and don't actually end up doing the work. We are just kind of convincing ourselves that we're doing it because we're sitting there with the book in our hand, we're reading the book, we're putting our headphones on, we're listening to the podcast, right? But what is it that you're doing after that? Are you actually taking that information and applying it to your life? Are you actually taking what you're learning and putting action behind it so that change can happen? Because if you're just using these resources to gain knowledge, that's cool, right? Like, okay, awesome. I'm always for learning, I'm always for growing. But if you're really trying to evolve, you're really trying to transform, it's not enough to stop there. You have to take that information and actually apply it to your life. So, for example, great book, Atomic Habits. It's all about how to break the bad habits you have and to create new ones. And in this book, it even has different workshop related topics or activities or prompts, I guess you could call them, for you to actually do. Now, it's up to you to do that, right? It's up to you to do the actual work. And once you read about how to break your bad habits and how to create good ones, take that and catch yourself in real time, in real life, when you might notice that you're falling into a bad habit, and go back to it and say, okay, how did the book teach me to navigate this? And then do it, right? And over time, it will just become second nature. And that's when you know that you did the work and that it paid off. You know you did the work and it paid off when you are operating at a completely different level with a completely different mindset, a completely different attitude. If you're not at that level, then you're not doing the work. You could be reading all the books and listening to all the podcasts, but there's no action behind that. If there's no retaining of that information, if you're not having an actual mindset shift, then there's nothing really getting done here. You're just looking productive. Okay. And I know that might seem harsh, but I've been there. I did this. I read so many books last year and had to kind of sit with myself, which is another part of doing the work, and ask myself, am I really actually making progress here? Or am I just reading these books to make myself feel good, to make myself feel and believe as though I'm doing the work? I realized that I was not retaining anything. I read book after book and then remembered, shit, I don't really know what I read in that previous book because I wasn't actually applying anything. But going back to the whole sitting with yourself moment, okay, that's a huge part of doing the work. You cannot avoid yourself. You cannot avoid the things about yourself that you do not like or that you want to improve and expect to evolve. You have to be comfortable getting uncomfortable, okay? That is the only way that you will actually be able to transform and to evolve. I know I'm throwing these words around a lot, but that's what a lot of you want for yourself this year. You want to be unrecognizable. I sure as hell do. And not for anybody else's sake, but for my own sake, because I know that I have the potential to be greater. I know that I have the potential to do better, to just evolve once again. So, sitting with yourself and having real conversations, deep conversations about, okay, am I happy with how I handled that situation? Am I happy with how I spoke to that person? Am I happy with how I treated myself in that scenario? And really get real with yourself. Treat yourself as if you were your best friend coming to you for some advice. You wouldn't sugarcoat it. You would tell her straight up what it was, how you felt, what she needed to do, or whatever it is. Obviously, you usually navigate those conversations in a kind way, and that's how you should do. That's what you should do with yourself as well. But having deep conversations is a huge part of personal development. And that's kind of where journaling comes in. At least for me, that's been the best resource to have deep conversations with myself because I can really see my thoughts and not just keep them all up here in the noggin, right? Get them out and actually process what it is that I'm experiencing and help myself navigate that situation. Navigating your emotions is something that I feel a lot of people struggle with, and it's a huge part of doing the work because I really believe that if you can master the skill of regulating your nervous system, you're solid. You will be fine. And I say skill because unfortunately, this is something that we are really not taught. We're really not taught how to deal with our emotions. And for that reason, we end up in situations where we are not happy, whether it be relationships with ourselves or with other people. But in this specific situation, I'm talking about the relationship that you have with yourself because that's what personal development is. And if you can once again master the skill of regulating your nervous system and understanding how to navigate your emotions, you will not be breakable. Okay. Like, for example, I was in traffic the other day and I think a car cut me off or they were going slow or something. I can't really even remember why I had started to find myself upset, but I did. I noticed that I was getting a bit upset with the vehicle in front of me. And it takes a lot to get me riled up these days because I have done the work and I am very calm, very peaceful. I can navigate situations with a lot of grace, but for some reason, just started to feel myself getting a little flustered and I went and tapped into my toolbox, took a few deep breaths, laughed it off, probably turned the volume up on whatever song I was listening to. And I said, "This not that serious. Whatever this person's got to do, wherever they're going, I just hope that they're okay. And I'm gonna kill him with some kindness. Bless and release, as I say, okay? And going back to the mental toolbox that I mentioned, this is essentially your own resource for you to fall back on in moments where you're struggling to navigate your emotions. So, your mental toolbox is just different things that you've learned, that you've accumulated through podcasts or books or whatever other resources. And they're basically just ways for you to navigate different scenarios, different situations, rather than just being reactive. I'm not gonna lie, it's a challenging journey. It comes with a lot of unlearning. You have to unlearn everything that you have previously learned, because that is why you're operating as the person that you're currently operating as. And maybe you don't have to unlearn everything, right? Maybe there probably are things in your life, things that you currently do, ways that you act, and beliefs that you have that you want to keep moving forward. That's great. But the things that you don't wish to keep, you're going to have to unlearn those things. And most likely, all these things that you want to unlearn are things that you have been doing or saying or believing your entire life, maybe 20 plus years, depending on how old you are, 30, 40 plus years. So give yourself grace through a personal development journey, because it's going to take time to unlearn something that you just know as your life, thoughts that you just constantly have and you don't know any better. It's going to take time, and that is okay. Everyone's journey looks different. This is not a race, it's not a competition. It is just something that you want to do for yourself to better your life and your relationship. And that is wonderful. And having that awareness is the first step. And then the second step is tapping into those resources. But the third step is the action. And the action is really where the change is going to happen. So essentially, whole point of this episode, just a quick one for you this Friday, is to not stop at reading, journaling, listening to the podcast, working out. Take it further. Take it one step further. Take whatever it is that you're learning, whatever it is you're discovering about yourself or about the world or about how your brain operates or anything that you're learning, and actually ask, how can I apply this to my life so that I can improve? How can I put action behind this so that I can be 1% better today than I was yesterday? That's what doing the work is. Doing the work is about having a complete mental rewire and operating at a different level than you currently are. Once you're doing that, once you feel like, oh shit, who is this bitch? Like, who is she? She can navigate these situations with so much grace and with peace. That's when you know that you did the work and it paid off. Okay? So that's what I have for you today. Just a quick little rundown on doing the work. And I have so many resources when it comes to podcasts and books that I absolutely love. I have a whole list of books on my Amazon storefront. And then I also have a link to a bunch of podcasts that I can send you directly. So if you want to check those things out, either visit the link in my Instagram bio for the Amazon storefront books, or send me a DM and I can send over all of my podcast recommendations. I also find, once again, journaling and meditating and working out to be wonderful resources in your personal development journey. But have conversations with yourself. Don't be afraid to sit with yourself and really ask yourself what it is that you want to do, what it is that you need to do, and stay true to yourself. Don't break those promises. Building confidence in your personal development journey is huge, with yourself, I mean. Building that trust with yourself that you, in fact, can do whatever it is that you want to do. You, in fact, can change your life. You, in fact, can evolve into a better version of yourself. But building that trust with yourself comes with doing what it is that you say you're going to do. Follow through. That's how you're going to build the trust with yourself. That's how you're going to take the action. That's how you're going to make the change. Okay. So I love you as always. Thank you so much for tuning in, and show the podcast this episode love in any way that you can. I always appreciate it. And I will see you on Monday with another episode of A Girl's Guide 2. Bye.